Good morning. Today is Monday, May 26, 2025. Today also is the 28th day of Iyar, Yom Yerushalayim, Chag Sameach, Happy Yom Yerushalayim. You must put at the top of your list of places to visit in Israel on your next trip, and may it be soon, the Pilgrims Road. It's also known as the Stepped Street. This is in the area of Jerusalem known as Ir David, the city of David. And this is just east of the old city. And this area slopes down. This area is also was more frequently known in the past as Silwan. 45 years ago, when I lived in Israel, this was a decrepit Arab village, Silwan, and it was also used as a parking lot for those visiting the Kotel. For the last 20 years, Doron Spielman has been one of those at the head of overseeing this incredible archeological site, Ir David. And what I will share with you this morning is from a recent interview that Doron did with Daniel Gordis. It turns out that that parking lot, which I remember using, was sitting on top of 12 layers of historical civilizations, one beneath the other. And the story starts in 1867, when British Captain Warren, sent by Queen Victoria, found a freshwater spring flowing into a mountain just east of the Kotel area of what's known as the Temple Mount, the area where the Beit HaMikdash was. And he found this spring. Now, it took a number of years, because what he did was he followed this spring into a mountain and he found a complete underground city. And he was amazed. He didn't know what to make of it. And he sent back letters to England. And it took another 50 years before it was determined that what he had found was actually Ir David, the city of David, meaning during the time of the first Beis HaMikdash, the main city of Jerusalem was not inside the walls of what today we call the Old City. And yes, there is a place in the Old City today, near the Jaffa Gate, Shar Yafo, that is called Migdal David, the Tower of David. And for a long time, people thought maybe that was the site of David's palace. But this discovery, along with other discoveries over the next 50 years, made it clear that the main city of Yerushalayim was actually east of the Kotel area, east of the walls of the old city, and it was an area that was lower. It sloped down. And this is where most people lived, and this is where David HaMelech, King David, had his palace, which is around the year 1000 before the Common Era. Now, the story then goes to 1984. And in 1984, there's a group of soldiers who's patrolling the area around the Kotel. And the head of this group of soldiers is a soldier named David Be'eri. And an Arab man comes over to him and he says to him, do you know in this area, this parking lot, this Arab village, do you know that there's archaeology there? And basically, David Be'eri finishes the army and he starts this project on a very small basis to start excavations in the 1990s of this area. Now, Doron joined in the year 2000, so that's 25 years ago. And the first thing is, well, if this is an Arab village, how are we going to excavate under it, which means that we're going to be destroying a lot of the homes if it belongs to Arabs? Well, it turns out it does not belong to the Arabs. It turns out that in the 1920s, Baron Rothschild had bought this area and built most of those homes. So this was in fact Jewish land with Jewish-built homes into which, after 1948, Arabs were living there. And it became clear that among the amazing things they found was this Ir David, the city of David, and the palace of David HaMelech, which I'll get to in just a moment. Now, a lot of this work was done by Dr. Eilat Mazar. She was a preeminent Israeli archaeologist, and she was able in many cases to show that literally, word for word, the description in the Navi of David HaMelech and his palace and where it was, that the description matched exactly word for word what she found in this area as she started excavating. For example, Doron tells the story. It was in 2004. It was a Thursday night, and he gets a call from Eilat. And she says to me, I found a clay seal. Now, a clay seal is what you would use to stamp your ring in the seal onto a document to assert that you were the one who had written the document. So he says to her, okay, well, what does the seal say? What name is on it? And she didn't know. Then she calls him back. It was 20 minutes before Shabbos the next day. Obviously, his house was crazy busy getting ready for Shabbos. And he says to her, she, Einat, the archaeologist, says to Doron, go get your Tanakh. Go get your Bible. And open it up to Sefer Yirmiyahu, the book of Jeremiah, chapter 36. And you begin to read. And basically the story there in Sefer Yirmiyahu is that the last king of the Davidic line, the last king of the first temple period was King Tzidkiyahu, and he sent 4 messengers to Yirmiyahu. Now Yirmiyahu, remember, Jeremiah had been prophesizing the destruction of Jerusalem and the exile of the Jewish people. That's what God had told him to say. He was prophesizing this. And the king, Tzidkiyahu, sends these 4 messengers to Yirmiyahu to say, would you give us a bracha? We want a blessing from you. And Yirmiyahu says, I can't give you a bracha that you're going to be victorious because you're going to be defeated. That's what Hashem told me. And then these 4 messengers conspire to kill Yirmiyahu. You know, it was dangerous to be a Navi. Yeshayahu Navi, earlier, he had been murdered also. Because a lot of times people don't like what you say when you say the truth, when you say what God tells you to say. So they conspired to kill him. And the messenger who was the leader of this, look it up, Yirmiyahu chapter 36, is a man named Yehukal ben Shalema. Yehukal ben Shalema. And that is what was written on the seal. There was a seal from this man who we know when he lived and what he did. And that discovery really put Ir David on the map, because it was clear that this is the place that was the center of Jerusalem, at least as far back as 600 before the Common Era. I'll get to David in a minute. And that's when tourism increased. That year, 2004, they had 60,000 visitors from almost nothing the year before. And everyone wanted to see it. Everyone wanted to see David's palace. Now, at the same time, while this is going on, there was negative reaction as well. Because, as you know, there has been an ongoing process to completely destroy any historical link between the Jewish people, with the state of Israel, with the land of Israel. This has been going on since the 1920s by Haj Amin al-Husseini, who founded the Palestinian nationalist movement. It continued through Arafat, all the way today to Mahmoud Abbas, the president of the Palestinians in the West Bank. Even 3 weeks ago, he said there was no temple in Jerusalem. There was no Jewish temple in Jerusalem. There's no Jewish history in Jerusalem. The Jewish temple was in Yemen. That's what he said 3 weeks ago. And now we have a seal that the whole world can see that proves that the dynasty of David HaMelech, of King David, was indigenous, was living in Yerushalayim at least as far back as 600 before the Common Era. Now, here's what I wanted to get to. Because as of December of this past year, 2024, you can now visit part of one of the most exciting things that has ever been discovered, and this is the Pilgrims Road, also known as the Stepped Road. So let me describe what it is. So first of all, you can go visit it now and see part of it, and hopefully very soon the rest of it will be opened up. It's in the process of being readied for the public, but you can go to see part of it now, and it is absolutely incredible. So listen to what this is. Now remember, Ir David, the city of David, which is most of Yerushalayim during the first temple period, is east of the old city of Jerusalem now, and it's lower. It's down a hill. So in order to go to the Beit HaMikdash, you have to walk upwards. Now, the entire distance is about half a mile. And it is a road, maybe 40, 50, 60 feet underground, what is now the ground level. Because remember, as civilizations are built and destroyed, one on top of the other, so you have to excavate down. Now, at the bottom of this hill, a half mile away from the Beit HaMikdash, that's the valley, the lowest part of the valley, they found a pool. And next to the pool, they found a staircase. And the staircase led into the pool, but the staircase was not a normal staircase like you would find in a house. It was a very, very wide staircase. And so the archaeologist said, this is not a normal pool. This is not where Jews went swimming. And they decided that, in fact, this pool was a mikveh, a ritual bath. Now, here's the thing. Any person who wanted to enter the Beit HaMikdash had to immerse in a mikveh first. Men, women, children. Everyone had to immerse in a mikveh first. And this mikveh, which is very large with these very wide steps so lots of people can go in and out at one time, is about a half a mile from the Beit HaMikdash, the entrance to the Beit HaMikdash. Well, the problem is, according to the laws of ritual purity, Tumah and Tara, if you immerse in a mikveh and then you touch something that is impure, you become impure again. So what does it help to have a mikveh a half a mile away, which is, I don't know, it's a 10, 12, 15-minute walk up a hill? What does it help to have the mikveh so far away? So Professor Roni Reich, who was the archaeologist at that time, said, well, if that's the case, and this pool is a mikveh, and the Beit HaMikdash is a half mile away, there must be a road that connects them. A special road that is only used for this purpose. And lo and behold, they found the road starting at the bottom of the pool and leading upward to the Beit HaMikdash. And you can walk on that road today. Again, only part of it is open to the public now, but soon you'll be able to walk the entire thing. Now, let's just remember, because we have Shavuos coming up. So we have 3 holidays, Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot. And on those holidays, the mitzvah is for every single Jewish person, man, woman, and child living in Israel to make a pilgrimage to Yerushalayim, to go to Yerushalayim. And it is a time that the entire Jewish people would be together. And they would want to go into the Beis HaMikdash to offer karbanos. So, what happened in real life during the time of the first Beis HaMikdash? What happened? Well, you leave your home in Israel, wherever you live, your village, your whatever it is, wherever you live, and you come to Jerusalem and you meet at this pool. This is the meeting place. And when you think about it, we're talking about ancient times. There's no communication. There's no email. There's no telephone. No computers. So this is where you would meet your family and your friends that you had not seen since the last Yom Tov. And so you met at this place. You immerse in the mikveh. Now you're ritually pure. And you walk up this special road that is only for people who have been in the mikveh in order to go into the Beit HaMikdash. And since it has been covered for probably over 2,000 years, maybe 2,500 years, it looks like it's brand new. You can walk on it and it looks like it's brand new. But in fact, the stones are 2,500 years old. And it looks like it hasn't been used since yesterday. Completely unbelievable. Now, so among the things they found is they found the largest house. And they could find the outline of the house, which is stone. And it was by far the largest house. So the assumption of the archaeologists is that this was the palace of David HaMelech. Of course, that is an assumption. But there is evidence for it. But here's what's amazing. Inside this house, so of course the part of the structure obviously was wood, which was, of course, burned, and the upper stones, of course, were destroyed, and, they had to excavate it, but they can see the outline, they can see the rooms, they can see the foundation. And they found date seeds. Seeds of dates. And now it is possible to do carbon dating on even something as small as a date seed. They found 100 date seeds that date back to 1000 before the Common Era. That's David HaMelech. That's the time of King David. And you can't ignore this. So this is clear archaeological proof. Again, we understand this, we know Jewish history, we believe it, but this is clear archaeological proof for the world to see that this was a Jewish place going back to the year 1000 before the Common Era, the time of David HaMelech, who is the one who established Yerushalayim as the capital. Now, Doron explains the significance of all of these findings. And this is why I wanted to discuss it today on Yom Yerushalayim. When a Jewish person, so I have had the opportunity, thank God, to visit Ir David, but I have not been at the time to be able to see this Pilgrim's Walk. I hope to be able on my next trip to go, as I'm suggesting to you. But when a Jewish person visits Ir David and you see the palace and you see the water, and now you can see the Pilgrims Road, the stepped road, you have the feeling that you are walking together with people who were here thousands of years ago. And what that does for a Jewish person is that you realize that the state of Israel today, and again, we know this, but just to be there and feel it in the real world, the state of Israel is not there today because of the Balfour Declaration, because of 1948, because of Herzl. All of them played a critical role in the establishment of the modern state of Israel. But the reason that we're in Israel today is because we are continuing something that started thousands of years ago. And this changes everything about how we look at Israel. So first of all, we are seeing proof that is available to show to the world that we are, in fact, the indigenous people of Israel. We're not the people that were here only since 1948 or only since 1900. And secondly, it's a very different picture when you think about what the Medinat Yisrael, the state of Israel, the land of Israel means, if you view it, as many people have, if you view it as the escape route for Jews from the Holocaust, which it certainly was, and that, of course, is something that's very important. But if instead of viewing that as the main importance or the impetus for Medinat Yisrael, it's really to continue living in a land where we have lived for thousands of years, it's a whole different feeling. Because the emotion is so strong, because it transforms the Jewish story in today's continuation of what happened 3,000 years ago. And it is so important to have this from an archaeological, scientific basis. Again, we believe this, we know this, it's not anything new to us. But to be able to have this in this form, because this is the story that's going around the world. This is what we are battling against in Gaza, and this is what we are battling on college campuses across the world. That Israelis are colonialists, We came in the 1900s and we took over a land that didn't belong to us, and we excluded people that were indigenous and were there long before us. So Doron says, if Hamas shoots missiles and rockets at us, we know how to defend ourselves. We take cover and we shoot back. If they're shooting lies at us, the only thing you can shoot back is truth. And if we don't know the truth, if we don't know how and why we are indigenous to this land, then we won't be able to explain why we are not colonialists. And this is what we have to explain. Not only to those people fighting against us, but to those college students on universities all over the world who are making these claims. We have to know the truth, and we have to tell the truth. He tells about one specific discovery. A group of them were sitting in their office. At that time, Eli Shukron was the archaeologist. He comes into the meeting, he comes down, and he puts a piece of clay on the table. He says, you know what this is? So Doron picks it up, says, no, what is it? He says, well, do you know what material it is? He says, well, it looks like it's gold. What is it? He says, put it up to your ear and shake it. He shakes it, and he hears a bell. So the archaeologist says to him, where is it written that there's a golden bell with a chime inside that makes a noise? Well, of course we know. We learned it a number of weeks ago in Sefer Shemos, the garments of the Kohen Gadol. The garments of the Kohen Gadol had pamon v'rimon, little bells on the bottom of his garment. They found one of these bells. And the Talmud explains that they would make a noise as he would walk. They could hear him coming because the bells were making this noise. And it was found directly under the area of the Beit HaMikdash. I want to tell you one last story. This is a story that Daniel Gordis told. He said he heard this on the radio a few years ago in Israel, and it was on Yom Yerushalayim. It was like the anniversary. And this woman, now an older woman, she had a brother who was a paratrooper in the Six-Day War. So it was like 50 years later. And her brother fell in battle. So her brother fell in battle. And she's telling this story 50 years later. So she said that the army, after the Six-Day War, of course, everybody wanted to go to the Kotel. So the army decided they were going to let the families of those soldiers who would fall in battle, they're going to let them come first to be able to see it, because there are all these crowds and crowds. So they brought in the families of those soldiers who had lost their lives fighting for Yerushalayim. They brought them in to be among the first to see the Kotel. And this is a woman now, 50 years later, she's telling this story. She says, I remember exactly. She went there because her brother had been killed. And she goes there and she looks at the wall and she sees the stones and she says to herself, This is why my brother died? For a pile of stones? This is what was worth that my brother should die? It's a complete waste. And she's telling this story, and she says, and now, this is 50 years later, she says, and now I understand he didn't die for a pile of stones. He died for us to continue our story. That's Yom Yerushalayim. And that's the amazing, amazing discoveries of Ir David that show us and show the world that Yerushalayim has been our capital for 3,000 years and will continue to be so forever. My friends, I wish you a great day. Happy Yom Yerushalayim. And I look forward to seeing you soon in person.